The storm this way right towards Orlando. So many of the people who evacuated are now hunkering down here, preparing to ride out this storm for at least the next day or so. And that's really what we're expecting. Even though I'm getting soaking wet now already, it's the flooding, it's the wind damage, especially tonight and then tomorrow, that we're really expecting to see. So they have had people out preparing, getting their homes prepared, businesses closing down. The theme parks, Universal, Legoland, Disney World, of course, SeaWorld, all announced that they'd be closed today and tomorrow as those precautions. Local schools have closed.
Hi, Jeff.
Hey, what's up, Alyssa? It's kind of cool that we're back in our own homes.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a whirlwind the last week. Glad to see that you're back in Michigan.
Yeah, finally. I think I was one of the last ones to get back from conference. And, we basically went down there to be educated and spend some time with the mouse and learn how to be better travel agents and all that. And we had a visitor, didn't we?
Yeah, well, I'll say I feel like we had some unexpected learning with how to be better travel agents. And I feel like you and we both had very different experiences with the hurricane coming by. But I feel like we're definitely going to use each other's experiences to be able to better help our clients out. So
absolutely. I mean, well, first off, I didn't see Ian in the itinerary, so I'm going to complain to somebody. But it is what it is. It's what you said. I mean, I think this can be used as a good learning tool for us as travel agents. This was my first hurricane that I've ridden out at Disney World, and I think that'll be, advantageous for us to, be able to tell our clients how it works and what to expect. And I got nothing but positive things to say, to be honest with you. I mean, we were at different resorts. We were at different resorts. So I think, giving our take on everything will be key here. But I personally, didn't have any major issues. I never felt my safety was in danger, and we never lost power where we were at.
It's amazing. Yeah, considering the majority of Central Florida did.
Yeah, they did. Majority. Yeah. And Disney World is kind of its own little city to start with. I mean, I think a lot of people have been reading in the news over the last several months the little fist fight that the state of Florida and Disney World has been having with the whole Reedy Creek district and everything, and Governor DeSantis. But this really, in my opinion, this kind of cemented the reason why Disney World wants to be its own entity. They produce their own power, they produce their own clean water, they have a wastewater treatment plant. They have a huge solar farm. I'm sure you've seen it out there on the highway. Mm-hmm. So I think that was a big reason why, like you just said, majority of Orlando lost power. And we at Disney World, I mean, the worst that we experienced with the worst of the storm was maybe a little bit of flicker to our Wi-Fi for a few seconds and delays, but we never lost power. And that there's a lot to be said in going through a storm in the dark and actually being able to still semi enjoy yourself in your room while you're riding it out. And that's a huge testament to Disney. If any of my clients and your clients get trapped there, I think that'll go a long way to making them feel safe, because I never felt like my safety was ever in danger. Did you?
No, but I kind of got out before the storm officially hit. So, and I'll talk about that. But can you, I had a lot of questions about, what do you do for food when you're riding out the storm? What do you do other than hunkering down in your room? Can you kind of attest to how that was?
Absolutely. So there's a couple things here let's talk about the food, because that's so important, being able to be nourished and everything through a hurricane. So we knew it was coming. We knew we weren't getting out. We knew that we were going to hunker down at Disney. So about 24 hours before, my daughter and I, who travel with me on this conference, we went to Winn-Dixie to get some groceries, just a few things. That's a whole story in its own. That was crazy. That was like the Hunger Games. There was a lot of people buying up a lot of unnecessary amounts of food, in my opinion. And I'm guessing most of them there were tourists, because I didn't see, a lot of the local Florida plates in the parking lot filling their cars with vast majorities of unnecessary things. But there was a lot of Hunger Game type things going on. Like, you couldn't find water. Luckily, at the start of our trip, we had bought in a flat of water. Even then was kind of hard to come by, because we got there on the 25th, and I think everybody knew it was coming at some point. but even that was hard to come by. They were rationing it. There was an
Yep.
employee with a with a pallet full of waters that was giving them one out at a time. By the time we went back just before the hurricane, all the water was gone. Luckily, we had some, but we were able to manage to get a few things for the microwave, a few things, in case we lost power to eat as well that didn't need to be microwaved. So that was key and important, to try to be prepared and semi see that coming and get out there not last minute. As far as Disney World itself, we were over at Saratoga Springs. They never shut down their food court. If you wanted to
Awesome.
venture out there, during the worst of some of the storm, they had employees that were part of what's called a ride out crew. I was actually talking to the employees to find out. I wanted to learn more, know more about why, you know, how they were operating. And every resort had what's called a ride out crew. They don't necessarily even possibly work at that resort. They just said Disney took the best of what was available and they assigned a little team to every resort. So they called themselves a ride out crew, basically saw the same faces for about 48 hours. And they were there cooking food. They were there keeping the store open. They were there keeping the families with kids entertained. Like all of the character meals around the parks were basically temporarily unavailable because the parks were unavailable. And all those people that played those characters were part of those ride out crews. So we saw a lot of what I would call extra fun and extracurricular character adventures. At my resort, just to give you an idea, at the recreation area where the kids were being kept busy, and those cast members done a wonderful job, doing crafts with them, playing games with them. But I saw Pluto sitting down playing tic-tac-toe with some kids. I saw Goofy and I saw Minnie Mouse sitting down watching Coco with the kids. I mean, what kind of extended interactions do you ever get like that? That's awesome.
Right.
So the entertainment was second to none as far as what you're going to do during a hurricane. The activities were out in plenty, and when you looked out the window, it was crazy outside. But they done their best to make sure that they didn't do it. Now, obviously, I think the night of right before it came in, we did have a in your room mandate. We had to be in our rooms by 9. They did shut down temporarily, and I guess it would have been Wednesday night. I think that's when it really came through. Wednesday night, Thursday morning. I remember going outside of my. Well, that's a whole nother story here in a second, but they did have us in our rooms Wednesday night by 9, and they asked us not to leave. They came through and they put towels under or in front of our doors, because we actually got some water coming in. And I think they saw that and got some people that were calling. So they came and put towels in front of everybody's doors so the water didn't spit in because it was so powerful and windy. We never lost power, Alyssa. It was crazy. I don't know if that answered your question about the food, but Disney just it was a little bit different operations, but they had a plan of attack.
It sounds like I grew up in Florida. We always say you prepare for the worst and you hope for the best. And it sounds like Disney really was prepared.
They do. And I had read it and heard it so many times. And I finally got to experience it. Everybody says that, there's no safer place to be during a hurricane than obviously inland, but there's no safer place to be inland than Disney World. And it really is kind of like a Fort Knox as far as, I'm sure their building construction's even higher code than what's, mandated by the state. Because I have heard from friends, and I'm sure you can attest to it. Florida learns with every hurricane. They tweak their codes a little bit here and there. And Disney World's buildings, I'm sure, are built to last, and very little damage. I didn't see any damage, to be honest with you.
I heard of damage over at Universal, but I haven't heard of anything at Disney.
Yeah, I heard a dinosaur escape from one of the rides. That's a funny story, but powerful. That was an experience. I've never really experienced a hurricane in its gusto, and obviously hearts and prayers and thoughts with people with the coast, because what Disney experienced was nothing close to what they had in those coastal communities. I'm so sad to see some of my favorite places to hang out on the beach are just destroyed right now on that coast side.
Or even quite a few. So I'm from Orlando. I still have a ton of family that lives there. I have a few family members. Their houses got 2 to 3 feet of water
Yeah.
So, and they're in Orlando, they're inland, and so it's still happening.
You and I can't even pretend to say that we experienced what the coast did, because we didn't.
No.
Although it was scary and powerful where we were at, because I believe Hurricane Ian was still a class 1 hurricane when it got to Orlando. I think by the time it left, it was downgraded to a tropical storm by the time, land rips apart a hurricane. But it was still, it was still a number 1 when it got to Orlando. And for a hurricane to still be that far inland, because that was about 100 miles from, where when it came on coast, that's pretty powerful for it still to be a hurricane.
Which is hence why, so I busted my butt out of there at 4 a.m. on that Wednesday. So I think you and we ran into each other at the Grand Floridian. I was waiting for my shuttle to go get my rental car. Yeah. I was so blessed that for whatever reason, so my flight, I was flying out of Sanford. They announced 45 minutes before MCO that they would be closing. And so I found out my flight was canceled before pretty much everybody else. And so I got on right away and got a rental car from the Disney Car Care Center, which I have to say is a top-notch service. So I've never used it myself and never had to, but because I was worried. I was like, oh, I got to go get a rental car. But wait, all the airports are shutting down. I won't be able to. And then so I thought of them. They came and picked me up right from my resort for free. And then you just had to give them at least an hour's notice. So they came and picked me up. They took me there, and I was in and out in 5 minutes.
And that's the one that's right outside the ticket transportation gates, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah. I've passed it a million times. I've never had to stop there. So it was so good. And I got my car and I got out of there, no issues. And then, but I had to fly out of Charleston because there was nothing left in any airport in Florida. So me and another agent, we got up at 4 a.m. and we headed out. And I remember checking the radar when I woke up at 4 and immediately had a slight panic because the outer bands were already there. Yeah. So, but I got out of there safe and fine. And once we got past the storm, once we weren't in rain anymore, we could take a sigh of relief.
How were the roads? How were the roads? Were they packed or were they?
No, we intentionally left so early so as to not hit traffic. My goal was to get past Jacksonville before rush hour. So if there was rush hour or if there was traffic of people trying to evacuate, but we hit literally nothing. There were probably more people than typical on the road at 4 a.m., but we were good.
Yeah, so you probably left at a time where most of us had just decided to hunker down, and
yeah.
So you got out of there at the right time. Our leader, Leslie, done the same thing. She left just prior to, the majority of everything, and she got out there okay.
Yeah. I mean, we had planned on doing a video with her. We had planned on doing more when we were there, but then the chaos of everybody's flights were getting canceled and trying to figure things out. And then not only the agents having to figure out their own ways of getting home, but then I feel like half of us had clients in the parks or about to go to the parks. Yeah. So I had a few agents that I was trying to help with dining reservations, Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, their flights, their hotels and stuff. So, which I think is a really good testament, again, to why you use a travel agent. I mean, you have that person, your specific agent, but we're also part of a team. And I felt like the whole team came together those last few days to make sure that us as a team, we were okay. We all had a plan, but that our clients were also taken care of, which was amazing.
And what you and I did was two very different things. You made the plans to get out of there just prior to, the majority hitting. When you being a Florida resident, you've been through hurricanes before. So they're
not fun. They're not fun at all.
We went a little bit different route. We were sitting right with you at that same restaurant when we were all making these plans, same table for you and I. And we gambled because we saw, a tweet and a lot of action that basically MCO was going to close. I hadn't announced it yet, but the rumor was they were going to close and not reopen until sometime on Friday. That was the rumor. And when I saw that, I knew that we weren't going to get out on Thursday. I just knew it. So we preemptively actually went in the Delta app and changed our flights. It was great that Delta wasn't charging anything for the change. So I went in the Delta app and changed my flights, and we rolled the dice and we gambled that we could get out on Friday. Yeah. I figured that was going to be the first day that they reopened after the damage. So we gambled. We picked a 1 o'clock flight, 1 p.m., and the airport reopened at 12 o'clock that day. We didn't know that at the time. So we were one of the very first people out.
Yeah.
It's actually very freaky when we, fast forward to Friday after the storm hit, we got to the airport. I expected on the way to the airport, the highways to be just littered. You couldn't even tell anything happened. It was crazy. They cleared up that much water on the roads in just one day. They used Thursday to clean up because the storm had went through for the most part Thursday early morning. So by Thursday 9-10 a.m. it was pretty much gone. It was just lightly raining. They used all Thursday to clean up, and the airport was an absolute ghost town when we got there. I thought it'd be packed with people.
Wow.
It was an absolute ghost town. Like, security was 0 to 3 minutes, which you don't see very often. We went up the escalator right by where the baggage is, and there was nothing going on because there's no flights that were coming in. We just reopened. It was like nothing. I've never been in that airport where it felt like a little local airport. It was so eerily quiet. We got out on time, and we actually got there so early we had a little bit of time to go tour the new Terminal C over there. We walked over there, walked around, got out, got home. So we got lucky, but Disney,
he did.
Yeah, Disney really knows how to handle things during a hurricane. I'm going to give them that.
So now, Jeff, you taught me something at that lunch at Steakhouse 71. So you had mentioned afterwards that a lot of credit cards have built-in travel protection.
Yep.
And boy, did I wish I heard that an hour earlier, since, again, I got lucky because my flight was canceled before. I used my Disney Visa to pay for my new flight and my rental car and everything, which does not have built-in travel protection. Had I used my Marriott Visa, it would have all been paid for. They would have taken care of everything. So, but now I know that for the future. And again, if I have a client in this same situation in the future, I know what to tell them. Go check your credit cards. Go check who has it. Now, granted, most people, we always recommend travel protection anyway for Disney trip. But I think because of this conference and kind of all the details came at the last minute, it wasn't even a thought in my brain.
Yeah, and so it's so important that people do that research too. And I'm really glad you were able to benefit from that, because I learned the hard way several years ago. We as travel agents do provide the option through a Disney covered travel protection program. But most people don't realize that the credit cards they have in their wallets and purses may afford them very similar benefits for not having to pay for it like you do for the Disney travel insurance. It's obviously better to have too much than too little. So some of my clients still opt to have the Disney insurance, but I want them to do what's best for them. So I always tell my clients, before you make any decision on the Disney insurance, because we don't commission off the insurance part of it, so I think it's just smart for them to call their credit card companies and do a little bit of internet research and figure out what it covers, because so many cards these days have some built-in protection, and now what to use next for the next hurricane that you may get.
Yes, I do.
Not trapped in. So, but yeah, it was an experience like no other. Again, still not pretending to be anything like what the coast had, but my funny story in this, and funny / a little bit scary, is that I went out of my room about every hour and a half to 2 hours, felt the spray and the wind, and I just wanted to document it, and not for any other reason, just to say that I had experienced one, and I had documented throughout the whole storm on my Facebook page, every couple hours putting a video update. I think it got a lot of likes, a lot of comments, a lot of people liked that. But it was like in the 1:30, 2 a.m. range where the storm was really at its height for Orlando. And I was up on the fourth floor at Saratoga, and I was up there looking down at my car, and there were these tree branches that were getting dangerously close coming down. That tree was bending probably a good 10, 11 feet down. And I was just afraid, being a rental car, something was going to fall on it. So I made the decision, whether smart or stupid, to run out there and move my car to an open area of the lot. And I've never felt winds that strong in my life, Alyssa. Like, I felt like I was trying to get through a football team to get to my car. And I swear to you, if I would have jumped up in the air, just like jumped up, it would have taken me 5 or 10 feet, just moved me. That's how strong the wind was. And just that little short time, I had to totally change my clothes. I was totally soaked. but
Mhm.
darn it, my car didn't have any damage to it at all, you know. So, and there were some branches down in the spot that I moved it
Uh,
to. So I was smart that I moved it.
yeah.
But
No, that was smart. I've been in a similar situation where the flooding came in and I was like, oh, gotta get my car to higher ground. So yeah, you got to do what you got to do.
yeah, yeah.
I'm glad you were safe.
One of the videos I shot, I think it was around 4 in the morning. Actually, you can see the water in the parking lot go up about a fourth to a third of my tires. You know,
Yeah.
that's a lot of water. That's like a little mini, a little mini pool in the parking lot.
Mhm.
And I thought for sure when I got up there and when the light came in the morning, it'd be even more water. But somehow Disney systems caught up. When we got up there, and I think I shot my 9 a.m. video, the parking lot was flat again. It was no standing water. So credit Disney and their sewer systems too. They've done a decent job of keeping up with all that.
Yeah. So I'm glad to hear both of us, whether you evacuated or you stayed, it was overall a positive experience. I mean, my travel day was like 18 hours in
Yeah.
total. Wouldn't want to do it again, but again, I'm so grateful for the Disney Car Care Center in there. I know you're grateful for the amazing care that you got from all the cast members and everything. It's definitely one for the books. And I know there were some other agents stressed out. My day job is I'm a counselor. This is my lunch break, but my day job is a counselor, and so a lot of them were freaking out. And I'm like, you know what? How are you right now? Stressed. How are you going to be in a week? Mad that it happened. How are you going to be in a year? We're going to be at conference next year, kind of laughing. Oh, remember that happened that last year. So again, like you said, we can't even compare to everybody on the Gulf and what they're going through. But I think in the grand scheme of things, I'm just grateful that we're both okay and home safe. And I'm glad that it sounds like, knock on wood, I think everybody else in the agency got home safe as well.
Yeah.
So and like you said, the care that you got and the character interactions, the things you would never experience on a normal Disney trip. From what I've heard from other agents, their clients had the best trips there. So despite this interruption.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one thing that we really learned too, at least I learned, is that a lot of the locals who were experiencing this crazy weather on the coast, they actually came inland. Like I met so many people when we were just walking around, keeping ourselves entertained. Wednesday and Thursday when the parks were closed. I learned from so many people that were there staying. They weren't just DVC members like me or vacationers. A lot of people came from the Tampa, the Fort Myers area. They came to Disney World because that's what they've been trained and that's what they do during a hurricane. So a lot of the locals in these coastal towns move inland, and a lot of them choose the theme parks because that they know that they're built for this kind of weather. I mean, there's a reason why, Walt didn't build on the coast, right? I think he was smart enough to know that this kind of weather is going to happen. So
yeah, I think on a lot of Disney boards and Facebook groups I'm on, some people are just so negative. They were like, well, that's what you get for planning your trip in hurricane season. But who can predict the weather? I mean, something could happen really anytime. I mean, yes, hurricane season, you kind of put yourself there. But again, if you work with an agent, we'll get you through it. We'll figure it out for you. It still can be an amazing trip and an amazing experience. So
yeah, and the interactions were second to none. I mean, those characters spent extra time with the kids. Here, I'm going to share one right now. I think it would be kind of cool way to show you guys just, how much these characters care about what they're doing. Their job was to make people feel comfortable. This was just before the worst of the bands came in, but it had already started. This was like Wednesday afternoon, just before the storm had really started to hit here. Characters were out and about. It was just a really fun way to spend a hurricane, I guess. But you should be seeing the screen right now.
yeah.
There you go.
Oh, Pluto.
He took our phone.
Oh, did he?
He actually grabbed it. He took the phone.
Oh, that's awesome.
Disney's going to make you feel comfortable and safe, and it was just a blast. An absolute blast.
Good. So, all right. Well, we will get back to regularly scheduled episodes. I think with John back, we have a lot to update him on. Yeah, and then we'll just kind of go from there. I know we got some other agency maybe trips coming up, it sounds like, but if anything, a very exciting conference for next year. Yeah, no doubt.
Absolutely. We got a lot of fun things to talk about. We're going to have more of our agents on with us talking about everything from, Disney Cruise Line. I'm looking forward to doing one on Adventures by Disney, talking to people about that. And I think a lot of agents really open their eyes this conference to, that brand that Disney brings. And yeah, we got a lot of fun things coming up. Yeah, but we got to get John back with us.
Yes, we do. All right. So for now, Jeff, it's nice to see you again. Yes. And go ahead.
I was going to say, this is Jeff Armbruster with Moments of Magic.
And Alyssa Dunham.
Yep, Moments of Magic. And for the Universe of Magic podcast, we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.